We're strapping ourselves into the world of guided rocket artillery, specifically GMLRS.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry, we're not getting lost in all the technical jargon. We're going to dissect some fact sheets and pull insights straight from Lockheed Martin's website to understand why GMLRS is such a game changer in modern warfare.
It really is a fascinating system. It's not just about raw firepower. It's about precision, strategy, and even the economics of warfare.
Okay, let's get to it. Before we start talking strategy, let's break down the basics. What exactly is GMLRS?
So GMLRS stands for Guided Multiple Launch Rocket System. And that guided part is crucial, unlike the what they call dumb artillery of the past. GMLRS rockets are incredibly precise, capable of hitting targets with minimal collateral damage.
The fact sheets really emphasize the pinpoint accuracy of GMLRS. Why is that such a big deal in today's military landscape?
Well, in modern warfare, minimizing civilian casualties and avoiding unnecessary destruction are paramount concerns. Precision weapons like GMLRS allow military forces to achieve their objectives, while mitigating the risks to non-combatants and surrounding infrastructure.
So instead of leveling an entire city block to take out a specific target, GMLRS allows you to surgically remove that target while leaving the rest intact.
That's the idea. And the GMLRS plays a key role as the primary round for MLRS systems. These are heavy-hitting, mobile platforms capable of launching a barrage of these guided rockets with devastating effectiveness.
Okay, I'm starting to see why this is deep dive worthy. The fact sheet mentioned a range of 15 to over 70 kilometers, over 43 miles. That's hitting targets far beyond the front lines.
Absolutely. To put that in perspective, imagine being able to precisely target a threat from a distance, equivalent to crossing a major city. That's a significant capability. That changes the dynamics of the battlefield.
And you can pack 6 of these rockets into a single pod, launching them from either HIMARS or the M270 MLRS launcher. By the way, did you know both of those are Lockheed Martin trademarks? Had to sneak that trivia in.
It's definitely a testament to Lockheed Martin's dominance in this field. But what truly sets GMLRS apart is its guidance system. The fact sheet mentions an inertial navigation system and GPS guidance.
I'll admit, I'm more comfortable with maps than rocket science. How does that make these rockets so accurate?
Think of it like using your car's GPS navigation. Your car relies on satellite signals to pinpoint your location and guide you to your destination. The GMLRS uses a similar concept. The inertial navigation system works like an internal compass and speedometer, tracking the rocket's movement. Meanwhile, GPS data provides external location information. By constantly comparing these two data sources, the rocket can make minute adjustments to its trajectory, ensuring it hits the mark.
So it's basically an autopilot for rockets, ensuring it stays on course even amidst the chaos of the battlefield.
Exactly. This sophisticated guidance system allows GMLRS to achieve an accuracy within meters of the intended target. It's a remarkable feat of engineering that has revolutionized the effectiveness of artillery systems.
And speaking of hitting the intended target, the fact sheet also mentioned different warhead options, a unitary warhead and an alternative warhead. Can you explain the difference?
Think of the unitary warhead as a precision instrument for pinpoint strikes against high-value targets,
Right.
like bunkers, command centers, or critical infrastructure. It delivers a concentrated explosive force with devastating accuracy.
And the alternative warhead?
The alternative warhead is designed to engage area targets. It dispenses numerous submunitions over a wider area, making it effective against troop formations or dispersed targets, like vehicle convoys. Interestingly, this warhead is designed to minimize unexploded ordnance, which reflects the growing international emphasis on reducing the long-term risks of war.
That's an important consideration, especially when it comes to the impact on civilian populations after a conflict. It seems like a lot of thought has gone into making GMLRS as precise, as responsible as possible. But before we get too deep into the ethical considerations, there's one number in the fact sheet that really jumped out at me. Over 60,000 GMLRS rockets produced.
That's right. That sheer volume points to two important facts. GMLRS is a combat-proven and highly sought-after weapon system, and its production has significant economic implications.
You're right. The fact sheet even highlights the economic impact. Over $3 billion in contracts, over 200 suppliers across 35 states, and more than 50 of those suppliers are small businesses. This isn't just about weapons, it's about jobs and livelihoods.
Absolutely. The development and production of a system like GMLRS create a ripple effect throughout the economy. It's a complex web of interconnected industries, from raw materials to manufacturing to logistics, all contributing to the final product.
Okay, I'm seeing how a deep dive into GMLRS goes way beyond just the battlefield. We're talking about accuracy, strategy, economics, and even international demand. But before we get ahead of ourselves, there's one more aspect we need to explore. The extended range version of GMLRS currently under development. And I think that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back to our deep dive into GMLRS. We've already uncovered the precision and power behind this system, but as we hinted at before, the story doesn't end there. Lockheed Martin is actively developing an extended range version, the GMLRS, which could significantly alter the future of warfare.
The fact sheet mentioned a potential range of 150 kilometers, almost double the current range. That's a huge leap. What kind of strategic advantages does this extended range offer?
Extending the reach of GMLRS like this creates a ripple effect across military strategy and planning. Imagine the ability to strike high-value targets deep within enemy territory, disrupting command centers, supply lines, and even air bases, all while keeping your own forces safely out of range of conventional counter-battery fire.
So it's not just about hitting harder, it's about hitting smarter. From a distance that forces your adversary to completely rethink their defensive strategies.
Exactly. It's like a game of chess, where you suddenly have a piece that can move twice as far as anyone else's. It forces your opponent to play defensively, limiting their options and disrupting their plans.
But let's zoom out a bit. We've talked about strategic advantages, but what about the broader implications for global stability? Does a weapon with this kind of range make the world a more dangerous place?
That's a question that's being debated right now in military and diplomatic circles around the world. There's no easy answer. On the one hand, some argue that long-range precision weapons could actually act as a deterrent to conflict.
So the thinking is that if a potential aggressor knows you can hit them hard and accurately from a safe distance, they'll be less likely to provoke a conflict in the first place.
Precisely. The classic example is the concept of mutually assured destruction during the Cold War. But in this case, it's about a more targeted, more precise form of deterrent.
But surely there's a flip side to that argument. Couldn't this extended range also embolden some countries to act more aggressively, knowing they can strike first and inflict significant damage without fear of immediate retaliation?
That's the other side of the coin. The potential for miscalculation or escalation is always a concern when dealing with advanced weapons systems. And as this technology proliferates, it's something we need to be increasingly mindful of.
Okay, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword. More precision and longer range could lead to a more cautious, deterrent-focused approach to conflict. But it could also create new dangers if used recklessly or in the wrong hands.
Exactly. The key takeaway here is that technology itself isn't inherently good or bad. It's all about how it's used and the intentions of those who control it.
So while we're pondering the future of warfare, let's bring it back to the present. I noticed that Lockheed Martin's website was buzzing with press releases about some recent tests they've conducted with GMLRS.
Yes. They've been quite busy demonstrating the capabilities of this system, particularly the extended range version.
They even mentioned a double-shot test. What was that all about?
They fired 2 GMLRS rockets in quick succession from a single HIMARS launcher, both hitting their targets with pinpoint accuracy. It was a powerful demonstration of the system's speed, reliability, and the devastating impact that even a small mobile unit can deliver.
It's almost like they're saying, we can hit you from farther away than you think, and we can do it twice before you even know what hit you. But in all seriousness, what's the purpose of these kinds of tests?
Well, there are several reasons. First, these tests are essential for validating the system's performance. They need to ensure that it meets the rigorous standards of the military and that it can perform reliably under real-world conditions.
So it's not just about showmanship, it's about proving that the system works as advertised.
Exactly. And there's another layer to these tests, signaling. By publicly showcasing the capabilities of GMLRS, Lockheed Martin sends a clear message to potential adversaries, and even to allies, about the technological advancements they've achieved. It's a form of strategic communication, subtly demonstrating their military prowess.
It's a reminder that we're constantly in this game of technological leapfrog, where every nation is striving to develop and deploy the most advanced weapon systems to maintain an edge.
That's a keen observation. The development of these advanced systems is often driven by a combination of perceived threats and technological competition. It's a complex dynamic that shapes the global landscape of military power. But what's fascinating about GMLRS is that it's not just a story of military might, it's also a story of global interconnectedness.
You're right. Earlier, we talked about the economic impact of GMLRS production, the vast network of suppliers involved. But the fact sheet also mentions something about international interest in the system.
That's right. GMLRS isn't just a U.S. weapon system. It's being adopted by a growing number of countries around the world.
So we're not just talking about the technological and strategic implications of this system. We're talking about its global reach, the way it's reshaping military arsenals and alliances on an international scale.
Exactly. And that brings us to a crucial question. What are the implications of this technology becoming more widely available? Does it increase or decrease global stability? That's a complex issue we'll delve into after the break. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of GMLRS. We've explored the technical specs, the strategic implications, even the economic ripple effects. But now, we arrive at a crucial crossroads. As GMLRS gains international popularity, is this a step towards a safer world or a more volatile one?
That's the big question, isn't it? You could argue that wider access to a precision weapon like GMLRS might actually make large-scale conflict less likely.
Right.
Because the potential for devastating retaliation makes launching attack a much riskier proposition.
Precisely. Deterrence theory, as it's called, hinges on the idea that a credible threat of retaliation can discourage aggression. Imagine a world where multiple nations possess the ability to respond swiftly and accurately to any threat. It might incentivize a more cautious, diplomatic approach to resolving disputes.
Okay, so instead of traditional warfare, with its inherent risks of escalation and collateral damage, nations might be more inclined to settle their differences at the negotiating table.
That's the optimistic viewpoint, but of course, there's another side to consider.
That this kind of firepower, even if precise, could embolden certain actors to take more risks, knowing they have the capability to strike first and inflict significant damage.
That's the danger. Deterrence relies on the assumption of rational actors, those who weigh the potential costs and benefits before engaging in conflict. But what happens when a less predictable entity, perhaps a rogue state or a non-state actor, gains access to this level of precision and firepower?
Yeah, you're right. The potential for miscalculation or unintended escalation skyrockets. A minor border skirmish could quickly spiral into a devastating exchange if both sides have the ability to hit each other with pinpoint accuracy from a safe distance.
Precisely. The diffusion of advanced weapon systems like GMLRS adds a layer of complexity to the global security landscape. It's no longer a simple equation of who has the biggest bombs, it's about who can deploy the most effective, precise, and strategically advantageous weapon systems.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, I think the answer to our initial question, does the spread of GMLRS technology increase or decrease global stability, is a resounding, it depends?
It depends on a multitude of factors: the intentions of the actors involved, their understanding of the technology, the effectiveness of diplomatic channels, and even the global norms surrounding the use of force.
What I'm taking away from this is that technology like GMLRS is a powerful tool, capable of shaping the future of warfare in profound ways, but its ultimate impact, whether it leads us toward a more peaceful world or a more volatile one, will depend on the choices we make as a global community.
Well said. In the end, technology itself is neither inherently good nor bad. It's a reflection of our ingenuity, our ambition, and sometimes our fears. It's up to us to harness this power responsibly, to use it to deter conflict, and to ultimately build a world where precision weapons are a safeguard against war, not a catalyst for it.
That's a great point to end on. I hope you've all enjoyed this deep dive into the world of GMLRS. It's a complex and fascinating topic, and one that I encourage you to continue exploring.